Okay, what about the media and media freedom? I think it's an important issue. It's one that the world cares about. It's one that the British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt claims to care about because he and his new best friend LL Clooney from Lebanon have just hosted a conference in London. I didn't go. I should have gone, but I was tied up in America. Yes, they've hosted a conference jointly. Strange combination, LL Clooney and the British Foreign Secretary hosting a conference on media freedom. I mean, the British Foreign Secretary, Britain, the British establishment, of course, is all over the place in terms of media freedom. The judiciary have imprisoned the WikiLeaks guy, Julian Assange, for contempt of court for going and claiming asylum. Yeah, strange thing, isn't it? Imprison a guy for claiming asylum when he was under threat of risk of deportation as a sin. He's committed a sin. I'm not exactly sure that really follows. He's been given a harsh sentence by the British. Then the British police chief, or deputy police chief, that is, from the Metropolitan Police, Britain's senior police force, has warned journalists that they risk imprisonment if they start leaking documents in the press, such as the Kim Darroch revelations. Come on! Is this democracy or not a democracy? Not good enough. The Metropolitan Police should wise up and issue an apology to the British people. Disgraceful behaviour. But there you go. So Britain's not perfect on media freedom. Clean up your own act. But that said, neither is any country anywhere, is it? And you look at the Middle East. I mean, they are worse sins to speak of. I mean, we're all aware of the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, dear friend of my family's, a good man. Atrocious murder by the Saudi state. But it's just one issue amongst many. I mean, we have seen, Kuwait used to have a great free press. Al Raya Alam, I remember, was a paper, I think, Kuwaiti paper. Jarallah was a great media baron in Kuwait. I used to know the guy, friend of my late father's. I presume he's dead now, but the point is that Kuwait had, especially after the liberation of Kuwait from Iraq, the Iraq invasion, Kuwait had a great free press for a while, but that went down the tubes, didn't it? With issues of exposure of corruption. Some of the journalists tried to expose corruption in Kuwait on part of government ministers, or one particular minister, and they tried to arrest them. There were all sorts of problems. One specific guy I'm thinking of, but I mean, so Kuwait's free press. Kuwait is no longer a great place for free press. Bahrain briefly flourished as a place for free press. They had these two newspapers, Al Wasat and Al Wasil, representing the extremes. Yes, the opposition newspaper went very well for a while. Rare for a Gulf country to have an opposition newspaper per se, in opposition to the government, and for that paper to be allowed to flourish. Well, of course, it allowed to flourish for a while. It's been closed down now. No, so Bahrain was a leader, not a leader anymore, obviously. UAE briefly tried to be better than it has been. It opened a paper called The National. It was an English language paper, still going, but initially in its early editions it was really quite an independent newspaper, very feisty, very strong, and it was soon brought to heel, and UAE brought in tough media laws. Egypt, after the Arab Spring, initially there was great media freedom for a brief spell. That went, of course. these things go. They come and go. I mean, Lebanon used to be a symbol of media freedom. What was that paper? The magazine? I used to like that magazine. I couldn't read it, but I used to always be speaking to its journalist, Al Hawades. I don't know whether it's still published in Lebanon now. But there were Lebanon was sort of the hub of publishing for the Arab world, and a great center for media freedom. And then they started assassinating journalists. That put an end to that. So we have issues for media freedom throughout the Arab world, and it is a problem. It's a real problem as to where we're going with this. I would like to see better media freedom. I mean, Iraq after the 2003 fall of Saddam used to be quite amazing. It had more newspapers than there were days of the year. I mean, literally more than it had more than 300 or 400, easily more than 300 or 400 daily newspapers. Unbelievable. It was a great, vibrant place, but then again, of course, journalists started getting assassinated. I remember going around with a cameraman who wanted to wear a great black hood over his head because he was afraid of being identified, and I stopped him. I said, "You can't do that. You're not coming with us if you're going to dress like that." But the point is, he was frightened. He frightened of assassination, with good reason, of course, because journalists get killed every day. We need to do something. If Britain wants to do something about media freedom, as it professes to want to do something about media freedom, they call Turkey to account. It's the world's worst offender for the imprisonment of journalists. Turkey needs to behave. Turkey is a disgrace. Turkey is a member of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, of which Britain and America are lead members. Come on. This is a terrible country for media freedom. They must do something about Turkey. And, I mean, it's cruel, the number of journalists imprisoned in Turkey. Languishing in prison for years. So, if Britain wants to do something media freedom-wise, let's do something. Let's actually stand up and be counted. It's all very well having conferences and having wonderful people like Amal Clooney stand up and be counted. But to truly stand up and be counted, you actually need to do something, Jeremy Hunt, British Foreign Secretary. You actually need to make a stand and actually call your close allies to account. Poland in Europe is not very good. Turkey's atrocious. Call these countries to account and you'll be making a difference. Thank you.